Alright guys, so today I'm going to show you a really awesome looking trick, and this is what it looks like. So if I had a bunch of spectators here watching me do this trick, I would actually invite them all to shuffle different parts of the pack. So I could split the deck, let's say, into 3 piles here, and we'll just give each pile to a spectator, and we'll have everyone just shuffle this deck as much as they wish. So everyone can take part in mixing up the order of these cards, and now we can just get everything back together into one single deck. So let's just recollect all the cards and shuffle them in the process. So yeah, you guys can agree, this deck is completely and utterly mixed, right? Okay, perfect. So I want the spectator to choose a card in the most fair procedure possible. I don't even have to be in the room for this procedure to work, because all it is I just want you to reach over, cut roughly half the deck, and take a look at the card that you've cut to. So go ahead and do this. I will turn my head away so that I cannot see, but please go ahead and take a look at this card. Hopefully you guys remember it. And when they're done, place it back, and you can even give the deck a shuffle afterwards so that there's no way I can know where that card is, or you could know where that card is. All right, so now I could come back into the room. Like I said, I didn't have to be in the room for this to take place. So I genuinely have no idea what the card is, but I would like the spectator now to try to send me the information of their card just through their thoughts. So just try and think of the card. Okay, I can already sense your card was a spade or a diamond, correct? Yes. And it was a black card too. Yes, okay, interesting. Think of the value of your card. It was definitely a higher card, correct? Yes, okay. I think, you know what? I'm actually very confident. I'm gonna go with one card right over here. This card. For the first time out loud, please go ahead and tell me what the name of the card was. Was it the Queen of Spades? I was not in the room when the card was selected. They could have cut anywhere. The deck was utterly mixed. Yeah, that's pretty impossible to me. So yeah, if you guys want to learn how to do this, be sure to stick around for the tutorial. Alright guys, so here's the tutorial for the trick that you just saw. So what you just saw in the performance was definitely a best case scenario. That is like the perfect outcome that would happen. And also I didn't have a spectator with me while I was filming this video, so it just looked even more perfect. The method for this trick is definitely very risky, but in the end result of this trick is you will be able to find out the card that they selected. Although it's not 100% guaranteed to work, I would still say that there's a very high chance that this trick will succeed. So I will show you guys how this trick works. And if you guys don't really like the method and if you don't feel comfortable using this trick, then don't worry, you don't have to use this trick. I'm just showing you methods that I really enjoy using, because I really do enjoy these risk type effects that when they go right, it just looks like real magic, and it's just awesome. So there is a setup for this trick, and the setup is you want to get out all of the 8s, the queens, and the 2s. So all of the 8s, 2s, and the queens. You just want to go ahead and remove all those and put them into a little pile. So I'm just gonna go through here and do that very quickly. But once you have all of those cards, you should have 12 cards total now of 8s, 2s, and queens, all right? So this is actually gonna be placed in the center of the pack. You don't have to really count or anything. You just kind of estimate exactly half of the rest of the deck as best you can, and then you're gonna take your stack here of 2s, 8s, and queens and place that right in the middle, and then take the other half and place that on top. So now you should have sandwiched in the center of the pack all of the 8s, all of the 2s, and all of the queens, okay? Essentially, the spectator is going to be choosing one of these 12 cards when they cut roughly half the deck, and then you're going to be using a method which is called fishing to basically find out which card they selected through questioning. So I know the question you're asking, if there's a setup in this trick, how can we ever have the spectator shuffle the deck beforehand like you did in the performance? Well, what I did in the performance is actually the best way to shuffle for this type of setup, because what you can do is you can actually split the deck into 3 piles. You can split the deck into this third over here, which does not contain the setup. You can split the deck right at the setup, so you can give the spectator all of the setup cards just like this, and then you give the other spectator all of the other non-setup cards like this. And these 3 piles can be completely shuffled because all of the setup cards are now separated from the rest of the deck, and the order of these cards doesn't necessarily matter. All that matters is that they remain together in one pile. So if they remain together in one pile, then these 3 piles can be completely shuffled. When you gather the deck back up together, you just take one of the spectators' non-setup piles, shuffle it on top, then take the setup pile as the second pile, and then you can shuffle these cards and throw those on top, and then take the remainder of the deck, throw those on top. And while it looks like the deck has been absolutely, completely shuffled, it really technically hasn't. The order of your setup has not been disturbed in any way, shape, or form, but the rest of the deck that can be shuffled was completely shuffled. So it does add a lot more of a shuffled feeling to this trick if you would like to incorporate that. So once the deck has been shuffled, you can spread out the cards just very quickly and show that the deck is completely mixed, but don't do it for too long because then they might notice a bunch of these cards in the middle here are sort of similar. So I just do it for a very quick moment and then square up the deck, set it down. And now you're gonna give the spectators the instructions to cut roughly half the deck and take a look at the card that they've cut to. Right now, you're basically hoping that the spectator cuts as close to middle as possible. There's like an 80% chance that they will be able to cut to either a 2, an 8, or a queen. And if they cut to one of those cards, then you should be golden. And to ensure that they do cut in this position, you just wanna emphasize the words, the center of the pack, the middle of the pack. You just wanna tell the spectator to cut roughly in the center. And you can even justify this by saying, I might have seen some of the cards near the top or the bottom, so try and cut in the center of the pack, so there's genuinely no way I could know where you're cutting. So if you tell them this, they will try their best to cut in the middle of the deck. So now let's just say that they cut the deck and the card that they've cut to in this case will be the 2 of clubs. However, you, the magician, will not be able to see this card, and you will have no idea what card they've cut to until you ask them these questions. But in your mind, you know that they've cut to either a 2, an 8, or a queen. You just don't know which value and you don't know which suit. So now, here comes the part of the trick where you find out the suit of the card. This is a line by the magician named Danny de Ortiz, who I absolutely love. This is a really, really smart and clever way to figure out which suit the spectator selected in just 2 questions. So the first line that you say is, I know that you already picked a spade or a diamond. They will either tell you yes or no. In this case, they're gonna tell you no. Whatever answer they say, yes or no, it's gonna tell you which group of suits their card is in. It's either gonna tell you their card was a spade or a diamond, or if it was a club or a heart. So if they answer no to this question, then you automatically know it was a club or a heart. And then you immediately follow up with, but it was a black card, right? Now that you know which group their suit is in this case we have clubs and hearts, the answer to this question will tell you exactly which one of those it is. So if they tell you it is a black card, then you know it's a club. And if they tell you no, it was a red card, then you know it has to be a heart at this point. So in this case, they're gonna say, yes, it was a black card. And now you automatically know within just 2 questions which suit of the card they chose. So you know now that their card is a club. So now you have 3 outs. You have either the 2 of clubs, the 8 of clubs, or the queen of clubs. So once you've figured out the suit of the card, there's 2 different routes that you could go after this part of the trick. And those 2 routes depend on the spectator's answers. So if they've answered yes to both of your suit questions, as if you've gotten basically a direct hit on both of those questions, then I would do one of the routes. And the other route would be if they answer no on one of your suit questions, then I would do this other out instead. So if they answer yes on both of your suit questions, in other words, if you get a direct hit on both of their suits, then I would ask a third question about the value. And that third question would be, I can tell it's a higher card as well. And if they say yes to this, then you will know it is either an 8 or a queen. And that will just completely eliminate the 2. So I ask them if it's a higher value. In this case, they're gonna tell me no. And that is immediately going to actually give me the 2 of clubs, because since I know it's a club, and since it's not a higher value, that's actually going to immediately just give me the information that I need, because the 2 is the only value that is not high within that pile. So now you can just basically immediately go out and pull this card, and you know that you will get the trick right because this is the card that they picked. However, if they were to answer yes to that last question, you would have 2 outs instead. You would know that it's either the 8 of clubs or the queen of clubs. And what I would do is I would pull out both the 8 of clubs and the queen of clubs like this, and basically put these on the top, and then either do a single or a double lift, depending on what card they choose. And you just do this, you can say, okay, I've put 1 card here on the top. For the first time, you can name the card out loud. If they say 8 of clubs, you just flip this card over. And if they say queen of clubs, then you just do a double lift like this. So that's the one route that I would go if they answer yes to both of those first 2 questions. However, if they say no to one of the suit questions, then you say, okay, we'll move on and we'll focus on the value instead. So think of the value and repeat the value in your head over and over and over again like this. And now you're just going to name one of the 3 values. It can be up to you which one you name, but let's just say you choose to name the 2. So you say, okay, so just repeat the name of the value over and over, like 2, 2, 2, 2. When you say this, you're basically gauging for a reaction or not from the spectator. If they have a reaction when you say 2, 2, 2, their card is the 2, because it'll seem like you've basically read their mind and you were somehow sensing that they were thinking of the number 2. However, if they have no reaction to this and they just go, okay, yep, I'm doing it, then you know that it's either the 8 or the queen. So then now you have this double out once again where you find the 8 of clubs and the queen of clubs, just cut those to the top, and then do either the single or double lift again. When you ask them what the name of the card was, you just do one of those 2 outs. So whichever route you take, you're either going to have a direct hit or you're going to be left in this position where you have either a card on top that you just singly turn over, or you just end with a double lift. And if you do end with a double lift, then you just can simply clean up with the KM move like this and flick with your thumb, and now you can hand the card out for examination, and that is how you would end the trick clean. So of course there is this main question that I'm sure many of you are asking, which is, what if they completely don't pick a card that they're supposed to pick and they pick, let's say, the 10 of spades, for example, and then they shuffle everything, and now your 3 values are just completely useless because you have no idea what card they've picked because they've just picked a random card. In this case, you still proceed with the trick as if they chose an 8, 2, or a queen. You ask all the questions. You can get the suit of the card still. You just won't know the value of the card. So you know it was a spade in this case from the first 2 questions. Then in your mind, they will have either picked the 8 of spades or the queen of spades. So you get those 2 cards on top. So what I would do in this case is I would have my double and triple lifts ready, whatever. You ask them what the card was, they say 10 of spades. At this point, you already know you messed up the trick, so there's no really switching this card out. You can't really do that. So you can flip this card over and say, well, okay, this isn't the 10 of spades. But that's actually really interesting that you say that you chose the 10 of spades, because I don't think that's possible. And now you're going to go through the deck and pretend you're checking something. And really what you're going to do is just take this 10 of spades. You can cull it underneath. Once it's culled, you can now show the spectator the spread and say, that's really interesting, because I actually don't think that that card is in the deck at all, because you see, I always keep one card inside of my pocket, and now you can always palm the card and pull the card right out of your pocket. And now this is sort of like an impossible transposition effect. That's like my favorite go-to out if a card trick fails. But of course it doesn't look as good if you actually had the spectator cut in the center of the pack and picked either an 8, 2, or a queen. So just give the spectator very clear instructions on cutting roughly half the deck. You can even have them practice cutting half the deck beforehand just to see what their half of the deck estimation looks like, and then you'll be able to be confident in knowing that they will be able to succeed picking the card that you want them to pick. But that's always a possibility of it going wrong, so always be prepared to do that little palm pocket out as well. So yeah, that's the trick, guys. Really hope you guys enjoyed this one, and yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.